Russia-Ukraine's war has now escalated to day 17. Ukrainian forces say they are giving a tough fight. They're not going to bow down. But what is seen on the ground is absolutely horrifying. Air raid sirens can be heard. Heavy shelling can be heard in the outskirts of the capital city, Kyiv, which means that at the border, heavy firing is on. Overnight shelling and Russian airstrikes were also reported in the southern city of Ukraine, which is Mykolaiv. Several parts of Volnovakha, another city in Donetsk, was destroyed by continuous bombardment. But the second largest city of Ukraine, and the city is destroyed as an aftermath. But this means there are massive explosions that are rocking not just other cities, but even the capital city, the Kyiv city, on day 17. An attack on a building, take a look at this, next to a bank in the capital city has only now left debris, sharp nails from the shelling all across the streets. Gaurav Sawant has been on ground now, and for days he's been reporting while firefighting operation underway. Take a look what our senior executive editor Gaurav Sawant sent us from Ukraine.
Series of explosions on day 17 of the Ukraine-Russia conflict. There was an explosion, a loud blast and fire in this building inside Kyiv. Now, this is a residential area in Ukraine, in Kyiv. This was targeted. Multiple explosions have been reported on the outskirts of Kyiv. There were explosions and massive explosions reported in Irpin, in Bucha, in Brovary. But this is inside Kyiv. Fire brigade officials still here trying to put out that fire. You also had some other officials who came and collected some shrapnel, some debris, and they're trying to figure out whether this was a rocket strike or an unmanned combat aerial vehicle or a kamikaze drone that came and crashed into this building. The question that's also being asked is, why was this building targeted? This is a bank. There are some other offices in this area, but there are also residential areas and localities here. We are told a large number of people had already vacated this area, but some others who hadn't are now quickly vacating this area and going. You can see debris here, you can see shrapnel here. The damage and destruction seen on the rooftop and in adjoining areas. There's a bank right next door, and cash vans are now quickly getting out of this area with all the cash that was stored in this bank. But why was this place targeted inside Kyiv? Because attacks have been taking place in Irpin, in Bucha, in Brovary, and people have vacated those areas. But those attacks have been taking place because the Russians are moving in from there. Why was a locality inside Kyiv targeted, which does not have any military installation close to it? And we've been speaking to not just residents, but others who live and work here, and they insist that there is no military installation here. So why was this place targeted? Was a UCAV shot down? Did an unmanned combat aerial vehicle come and strike this building? Was it an accident? There is no clarity on that, but the debris and shrapnel are being collected and more details are being ascertained. But officials now say that people are now leaving this area out of fear. With cameraman Pawan Kumar in Kyiv, Ukraine, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.
Look at the graffiti here on the main bridge. Europe, wake up. Tomorrow, Lind, I don't know. I mean, it's about that Europe needs to stand with Ukraine right now. This is what this graffiti means here. And I'm right now crossing the bridge on Dnipro River, which is of very much strategic importance.
And not just our reporters who've been there for at least 20 days now, updating us every day, but also joining me now from Kyiv is Pysarenko. She's also a civilian, a citizen of Ukraine. Maria, 17 days at least. It must be exhausting for the families, for women, children, people, to at least try to survive every day. I see the aftermath on our screens here. What are the civilians and their morale right now? How are they still keeping their spirits high when aftermath around them is all devastation, debris and fire?
Yeah, right. As we see, not all the people are ready to keep up and stand in this battle, in this war, actually. And we have the reports of 2.5 million Ukrainians who fled their country during these 17 days of war. And according to Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko, every other Kyiv citizen, so 50% of all the population of Kyiv, also has left the city because of war. And now the tiredness, the feel of kind of anxiety has been building up in people. And we see this on social media. I see this among people I came across in the streets, in shops. I hear these talks that people are already, tired of war. And during these recent 3 or even 5 kind of days in Kyiv, you can see that significantly much more cars, much more people in the streets, because you see, we have the sun shining, we have kind of very cold but spring weather, and people just are tired of being scared, of being terrified. They're trying to have walks at least, go to grocery shops, go to pharmacies, trying to, make some traditions in their new normality, new life of living at war. And what is kind of a good point is that in Kyiv, the grocery shops and pharmacies are still not kind of empty, but you still have something to buy. So this gives the feel that everything is okay, but people here are understanding and preparing for the new Battle of Kyiv. As we see the reports that Russian convoy, which has been approaching Kyiv, so far not successful, and this is why we have this kind of quiet time in Kyiv. Yesterday, by the way, that was not the case. We've heard some explosions coming from suburbs of Kyiv, Vasylkiv, and we have these missiles shot just above Podil area, which is kind of old town Kyiv. So
Maria, what about the mayor of the Melitopol city, who, according to Ukraine government, has even been abducted allegedly by the forces, by the Russian troops? Any update on that?
Yeah, right. So it is really unfortunately true. We have these reports of Melitopol mayor being captured by Russians. Kind of this is explained as the tactic of psychological war of Russians. And the interesting fact is that Melitopol residents didn't, keep away from this. They fought back with the great protest. People went out in the streets to show Russians that they are not afraid. And even the Russians trying to capture the official, capture the mayor of their city, they organize this protest against this. And it is again the picture that we have been largely seeing in Ukraine, when people without weaponless civilians are coming into the streets to combat, to fight back Russians, to show that the civilian population is not just population, but nation which is not afraid. And this is what we again see in Melitopol. What is now with the mayor is not known for now. We are still waiting for new updates about what is right now with him, where he is right now.
I do request you to stay on, because 17 days on, remember, and the aftermath is for all to see. Even abductions are now taking place, as Ukraine is claiming. Maria, do please stay on with me, because amid this ruthless shelling and mass destruction, there's no other word for it, because that is what is the visual coming in from Ukraine. The officials are alleging that the mayor of the Melitopol city, Ivan Fedorov, was kidnapped after he refused to cooperate with the Russian military occupying the city now. On your screen are 2 sides of images. One is the CCTV footage that has been accessed of the entire incident, where Anton Gerashenko, advisor to Ukraine's Minister of Internal Affairs, is alleging that Ivan Fedorov refused to cooperate, and then he was detained at the City Crisis Center, where he was in charge of the city's life support. While Russia has not officially commented on the incident, Ukraine is saying Russian forces have kidnapped him after falsely accusing him of terrorism. But as a result of that, now look at this visual. Thousands of residents, while war is on around them, marched to the administration building demanding the release of the mayor. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said the kidnapping of the mayor of the Melitopol city is a war crime against democracy, and the actions of the Russian occupiers could even be equated to those of the ISIS terrorists.
Сьогодні у Мелітополі окупанти захопили мера міста Івана Федорова. Мера, який мужньо захищає Україну та людей у своїй громаді. Очевидно, що це ознака слабкості.
So, Maria, because you're in the Kyiv city, what is the city looking like? Because this is Melitopol, where even the mayor allegedly has got abducted. Is it possible for you at all to show me around, only if it is safe for you, comfortable for you? What does the Kyiv city look like? Because there is at the border the situation that is turning much worse.
You're right. Right now I'm in city center, very close to Kryachky street. I can't show the Kryachky because there are the block posts, and we, the civilians, are not allowed to show the location of these block posts. But
Yes.
you can see that this is kind of the city center, and now I can freely walk just in the middle of the street, not seeing any cars here. So still kind of quiet in the city. And when you come closer to the strategic objects, such as governmental quarters, such as some military infrastructure, you clearly see the block posts with big concrete blocks, some pieces from the construction sites, for example, of bridges. These pieces of bridges have been put all over the city, just in the streets, to form kind of the barriers just across the main streets. We also see a lot of block posts which are very high, with the bags of sand put on them, so that also the fire spots are created just in case any sabotage group or groups of Russians with Russian military equipment would try to, come through these block posts. They are all very well prepared, and luckily the military and the territorial defense fighters here in Kyiv had enough time to make these block posts really well equipped and well stationed.
Maria, I can see that clearly there is an eerie silence there, and it appears that the quiet is clearly not normal, and there is a reason for that. While on the border the fighting is on. You stay safe. Thank you for constantly updating us, and I'll come back to you shortly. But there are major, massive claims and counterclaims emerging. Now, Ukraine has made this sensational charge amidst this war with Moscow. Ukrainian officials are claiming that Russia has announced recruitment of ISIS fighters for this war against Kyiv in Ukraine. Now, the allegations are coming to the fore after Russia allegedly there was usage of chemical weapons by the West. The question is this now a repeat of Russia's Syrian model of war? Take a look at this story.
Russia is recruiting new fighters for its war on Ukraine, and the recruits include former ISIS fighters. That is the explosive claim made by Ukraine. The country, reeling under Russian airstrikes, is alleging Moscow has announced induction of 16,000 former ISIS fighters. Ukraine claims the new recruits will be deployed against civilians. Ukraine is pointing to a bigger diabolical plan. Kyiv claims the entry of ISIS fighters, and Russian accusations of bioweapons in Ukraine means that Moscow is trying to recreate a Syrian scenario. Russia had claimed the US is helping Ukraine build bioweapons.
The purpose of this and other Pentagon-funded biological research in Ukraine was to establish a mechanism for the stealthy spread of deadly pathogens.
И что теперь?
What are these allegations of preparing chemical attacks? Have you decided to carry out dechemicalization of Ukraine? Using ammonia? Using phosphorus? What else have you prepared for us?
Фосфором. Что еще вы нам приготовили?
The White House has rejected Russian charges.
We have seen one of their playbooks is to accuse the other that which you are doing or which you plan to do.
Ukraine fears Russia could be setting the stage for use of chemical weapons in the war. In Syria, Russia had used chemical weapons after alleging that rebels were using one against Moscow in 2013. Back then, global leaders had turned a blind eye to the Russian attacks. Now the fear is, will history repeat itself? Bureau Report, India Today.